A very good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. I see Stephen Cook in here, could be Travis, Richard Pierre, Ramo, Will Likes is in here. Hit the like button while you're here, Will Likes, and everybody else. You might not like or love our recap screen. We had a lot of plus money out there, a lot. Smalls gave out plus money plays, including the plus 370 play, which almost came in. Alex Noren had a nice little tournament there for him. Danny Brasco misses 2 out of 3. I go 2-0. A-Mags hits his strikeout prop. The SportsLine pick hits. But we go 6-9. Just keep in mind, a lot of these are big plus money plays that we missed, but we'd rather hit them. Speaking of plus money, if you watch the early wedge, you hit Harris English plus 110-1. It's a three-way split, but a lot of you who watched early wedge, which is most of you in the chat, you hit Harris English in the Without Scotty market, and you hit Bryson in the Without Scotty market, thanks to our early wedge Sunday show and Tuesday show, which will be coming at you this week as well. Speaking of coming at you, let's bring in the stars of the show. We have a nice little Monday team here as we talk WNBA with Calvin Wetzel. We talk Major League Baseball with Matt Snyder, and we talk soccer with Buckets. I even have an NBA pick. It's a series prop that I think you might be interested in. Buckets, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well, except I am just now realizing, Sia, that I sent Ben the wrong play. So the graphic is not going to match what I'm about to say. Ben, I'm going to type that in the chat. I am so sorry. This is completely on me.
Calvin, we had the classic, as Snyper just kind of shakes his head. Calvin, we had WNBA start up, 3 days ago on Friday. How did the first few days turn out for you? And anything surprise you in the first few days of WNBA action?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of favorites cash. First few days definitely went great, both from a betting perspective and just a basketball perspective. And really excited that the league is back and to be back on the show with you guys.
Awesome. Snyper, how you doing today? How did the baseball weekend treat you?
It was great. Cubs were in first place. Pacers are getting ready to play the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks, making me feel like I'm back in high school again. So I'm feeling very, very good.
Yeah, I think both of those series are going to be really, really good, really old school series with good defense on both sides, the Western Conference and Eastern Conference Finals. I do want to tell you, Snyper, your counterpart, A-Mags, I got a message from somebody, and I don't know if it was his official SportsLine picks or the picks that he's continuously putting in Discord. Somebody told me he was on a 9-1 run over the weekend. And I don't know, again, if that was the official SportsLine picks or just all the stuff he puts in Discord. But you and him flying pretty high lately.
Yeah, not surprising. A-Mags is great, so I'm not surprised at all.
All right. Joseph Akers and many others talking about how they love Calvin Wetzel on the show. So, Calvin, we're going to get to WNBA picks in a little bit, but we're going to start out with soccer. Buckets, I don't know. Do we have everything straightened out already, or should I go to somebody else first?
I do not know if you want to start with someone else just to be sure, or I could. No, we're all good. We're all good per our wonderful producer, Ben. So I'm good to go if you are.
Let's do it.
All right, so we are looking at the one EPL match taking place this afternoon, which is going to be Brighton taking on Liverpool. And the bet I was originally going to take was Brighton draw no bet at -125, which I still do like. But the bet I like a lot more is Brighton over 1.5 team total priced at -120. Brighton right now, it's kind of a weird point in the season. Neither team really have a ton to play for, but Brighton, when playing at home against Liverpool, have scored 2 or more in the last 4 matches straight, and Brighton in recent form have been extremely goal heavy. Meanwhile, Liverpool, they've already won the league. This match does not matter, and they have been on vacation in Dubai and Ibiza for the last week. This is a team that is not focused because they don't have to be focused. They already put in the work. They got the result. They are just waiting for the season to end now, while Brighton, in their last home game, still has a bunch to play for here to show the fans, thank you for all you've done this season. I think Brighton probably win this game, but they're at least getting 2 here, Sia, and at -120, we got to take that.
All right, -120. We're going to take that. We're also going to take another win. Our recap screen was incorrect, and I do have to point out the Friday pick screen was incorrect. We actually had the wrong WNBA pick from Calvin. So we tried to correct it on Twitter and on the YouTube page, everywhere you could find us, including the SportsLine Discord. We tried to correct it. So sorry about that. Some of you might have cashed on it anyway, because that pick actually ended up winning the pick we put up, but that's not how we want to cash picks, and that's why it's not on the recap screen. But we do have 7 wins and 8 losses. Again, a lot of plus money plays there too, but it appears that Danny Brasco's pick did cash. Sorry about that. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. Let's go to the Snyper. We got 2 MLB picks. We're going to have a home run SportsLine plays later on, maybe after you give out your take, or actually probably after the break. Talk to me about your 2 plays.
Yeah, I'm going to start in Miami with my Chicago Cubs, who are in first place. The offense is riding high right now, as it has been pretty much all season. Got off to a slow start there in Japan in those 2 games against the Dodgers. But stateside, the offense has been one of the best in baseball. I'm going to go to a lesser known name here, and I'm going to go to Nico Horner over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. Only minus 105, not much juice at all there. Last 3 games, 6 for 12 with 6 runs scored and 3 RBI. He averages about 2 1/4 hits plus runs plus RBI a game. So all he has to do is have his normal game here. He hits late in the order. It's actually a very good spot because the Cubs lineup is so deep. It's a good RBI spot for him, but also since he's toward the back of the lineup, he could be on base when Pete Armstrong, Kyle Tucker come up to bat. So it means very likely he gets driven home. He steals a lot of bases. Like I said, a very good spot in the order. Also in his career against Marlins starter Edward Cabrera, 5 for 8 with 2 doubles. So I really like this spot for Nico here. Also, we're going to keep picking on the Rockies. Phillies are playing the Rockies in Colorado. The money line last night was minus 278. It might even be over 300 at this point. The run line was even minus 180. It might even be close to minus 200. So we're going to go to the trusty old pitcher to get the win, Christopher Sanchez, minus 130 there. Look, the Rockies' offense at home is actually not that great, not what you expect. They average 4.33 runs per game at home. So it's not horrible, but it's in Coors Field. Just to give you kind of what they're up against, they allow 7.76 runs per game. So they average getting blown out at home by about 3.5 runs a game. Sanchez actually threw against the Rockies last year in Colorado, and he only gave up 1 run in 5 1/3 innings. So I'm confident he can get through the 5 innings with a big Phillies lead, and the Phillies can hold that thing. Look, the Rockies are 8-38. They're 5-16 at home. They're awful. So we're going to fade them any which way we can. And on the home run props, I did have a couple down. I like Taylor Ward. The Angels are in Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, where we know the ball flies. JT Ginn pitching for the A's is actually home run prone. That Taylor Ward is plus 390. Also, if you want somebody else on the Angels, I'm going to do this for buckets. Jorge Soler is plus 425. He could also work there. And if you wanted a more obvious name, Juan Soto in Fenway Park. Hunter Dobbins of the Red Sox gets carved up by lefties. It's only 302 down the right field line. Soto can go opposite field. I like Juan Soto tonight.
Well, first of all, I think Buckets loves the Jorge Soler call. Can I ask you, Sniper, did you happen to be watching the Subway Series yesterday? That throw to home by Pete Alonso?
Yes.
What was that? Like that was like Chuck Knobloch stuff.
Feels like it slipped out of the side of his hand or something.
Okay.
I don't know if they had a chance to get Dominguez at home anyway, but it just looks so much more hilarious when it's that bad, because it wasn't like that's just a bad throw. It was the second it came out of his hand, it completely took off.
I mean, it looked like he was trying to miss the catcher.
Yeah.
That's how bad the throw was.
It just felt like it kind of flew off the side of the side of his pinky or something. It was weird.
Speaking of the yips, real quick, Chuck Knobloch was that guy that was great, and then he couldn't throw from second to first. Rick Ankiel is one of those guys that I think they moved him to the outfield because he just couldn't pitch. Is there anybody else that you can remember that just was great or at least good, and then just straight up could not throw? Had the yips?
In terms of the throws, well, it started to happen to Gavin Lux a couple seasons ago. He wasn't great or anything, but it's one of the reasons that Mookie Betts moved into the infield for the Dodgers, is because they just didn't really have anybody else. They needed to try something. Mark Wohlers, I believe he lost as a pitcher. I believe he lost it as well.
Atlanta Brave, correct? Mark Wohlers?
Closer from the Braves from the 90s.
Yeah, Buckets, go ahead.
This one might be a long shot, but I actually know one. If you ever watched Bob's Burgers, Torpedo Jones for the Wonder Wharf Wonder Dogs baseball team has the yips. So
yeah, I was going to say that.
Consider. Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
And Brian M points out, I should have thought of this as a Cubs fan, John Lester not being able to throw to first, which was always one of the most ridiculous things to me, because his command and control to home plate was impeccable. He could put it exactly in whatever spot he wanted thrown to home. But if he tried to throw to first, he just couldn't. That's just always was bizarre to me.
We got to apparently this subject is triggering a lot of people in a good way. Jeff Stenberg says, see you bringing up Knobloch and Keel on a Monday. What a ray of sunshine that is. Steve Sachs from Ron Moore and John Parker. Mark Wohlers, Ed Anarumo had brought him up at the same time you were bringing him up, Sniper. A lot of commentary here. Okay, so I want to get to the SportsLine pick, but I don't want to forget to ask this question to Calvin. Calvin, my understanding, is that the foul from Caitlin Clark to Angel Reese was upgraded to a flagrant. Is that correct? And was that a flagrant foul? That looked like a totally normal foul to me.
Yeah, I thought it was a basketball play, but there was a different angle that I'm not sure if they showed on TV. I saw going around social media, like from behind, where you could kind of see her left arm kind of come out with a little bit of a shove. So I kind of understand why they called it. And I think also just with everything going on between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, like I think the refs just wanted to get a handle on it really quick and just not let anything spiral out of control. So I kind of understand why they went that way, but I do kind of think it was just like a hard basketball play. She had an open layup, wanted to prevent it. So I didn't really think there was anything there. Obviously, social media is always going to run with it, but I see why they called it.
Sniper, you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say, especially with it being a blowout, my hunch is they just wanted to get in front of it there, so things didn't spiral out of control.
I mean, I do think that I do think Angel Reese kind of like jutted her body forward, which might have made it seem like she got shoved, but she was definitely going
overly dramatic. It felt like
extremely. So I just thought it was just kind of a silly moment. Okay, let's get to the SportsLine pick, and then Calvin, we're going to get to your picks, and we're going to get to my NBA series pick if you're interested in that. SportsLine pick: Milwaukee Brewers money line -115. That is courtesy of Bruce Marshall again. Brewers money line -115. We got to get to some home run props too. We got to get to Calvin's WNBA pick. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We're back on the early edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Before we get to Calvin's pick, Sniper, can I ask you, this Brewers play, okay, we got Dean Kramer on the mound, I think. I'm double checking against Quinn Priester. Like, at what point are the Orioles not going to get any respect in the market where the price is good to take the Orioles? Are we there yet?
Maybe right now. That was one of my plans for the day, actually, was when I thought, okay, I'm obviously going to attack the Rockies, then let's start attacking the Orioles. But Quinn Priester on the mound for the Brewers, as you mentioned, he's gotten shelled several times. So the reason I stayed away was I was like, man, if the Orioles bats right now could get hot against anybody, Priester might be the guy. So that's why it ended up being a stay away for me. But had the Brewers had, let's say, Freddie Peralta on the mound, for example, I would have probably zeroed in on Freddie Peralta to get the win.
Fair enough. Aaron Bailey in the chat, he says, Sia, here's a reason to be in the SportsLine Discord for the Preakness on Saturday. It's one of many reasons. For the Preakness on Saturday, Gene Menez, Jeff Hockman, and Michelle Yu were in the Discord all day, and I won over $1,000 horse racing. That's amazing. We have SportsLine channels and SportsLine picks. If you're a member of sportsline.com, that Discord has channels for every single sport, including the WNBA, which is where Calvin comes in. Calvin, you got a prop for us tonight.
I do. I love Nneka Ogwumike for the Seattle Storm over 17.5 points. I think it's a great time tonight to buy low on the Storm offense as a whole, and in particular, Nneka. She only had 12 in the opener the other night, and the Storm offense didn't look very good. They got blown out. Part of why she only had 12. Her minutes were down due to that blowout. Her usage rate was actually up from last season, which is to be expected when you lose a high usage volume scorer like Jewell Loyd over the offseason. That was the case in the preseason as well. Nneka's usage was up. So I do expect that to be the case again tonight. Now they face a Dallas defense that is the exact defense you want to face if you're trying to turn things around and get right. Last year, they were the second worst defense all time in terms of points per possession. And so far this season, they haven't looked much better. They did bring in, of course, Paige Beckers, who they drafted #1, and Dejanay Carrington over the offseason, who are solid wing defenders, but the interior defense is still an absolute mess, which is where Nneka Ogwumike is going to feast in the paint. So last year, she averaged 15 points coming off a win and 19.5 points coming off of a loss. Obviously, they lost the other night. When they lose, they look to get her more involved in the next game. So I expect them to be going to her early and often tonight. I think she gets there, so I'm taking the over 17.5.
All right, and do me a favor, because I'm going to get to the recap screen in a few minutes. Pronounce the name one more time for me.
Nneka Ogwumike.
Agumake. Okay, I got it. That's what I thought. All right. Let's go to my NBA pick, and then we're going to go to some soccer questions in the chat if we have any, and some MLB questions, and maybe some WNBA questions if you have them for Calvin, who we love having on this show, because I think the WNBA is a market we really need to be paying more attention to, not just because of the betting side of it, because it's actually a great product to watch as well. But I'm going to turn from the W to the NBA. We're going to go to the Minnesota Timberwolves, Oklahoma City Thunder series. You know I don't give a lot of NBA picks out, but I have been dialed in on the NBA. I'm taking the over in the series. I think this is a much more competitive series than what the numbers are indicating in terms of how big a favorite the Oklahoma City Thunder are. I think we're going to see two great defensive teams. That's not breaking news to anybody. I think we've got stars on each team, but we have secondary and third tier stars on each team as well. I think Julius Randle is going to play a huge role in this series. I think Minnesota, as long as they don't turn the ball over, because we know OKC really thrives off turnovers. As long as they don't turn the ball over every single game, I think they're going to come at the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they have a chance to win this series. I think the series goes at least 6 games. And if it goes 6 games, we cash our minus 125. I will tell you, this over 5.5 games, it's different at different sports books. DK has the minus 125 right now. Other books have, I think, minus 135, minus 145, but you can still get what I think is a great number, minus 125 on the Thunder T-Wolves. Going 6. I do expect it to go 6 or 7 games. We don't have any like true, I guess, NBA people on the show today, but tomorrow we will. And that series doesn't start till tomorrow. So if you want to hold off and get second opinions or go on the SportsLine Discord and ask people what they think of this pick, feel free to do that. I don't know. I don't mind you going behind my back there and getting Calvin, by the way, do you just focus on WNBA? Do you look at the NBA too?
I look at the NBA a little bit. Yeah, this playoffs has been fantastic. Like one of the best that I remember. So I've definitely been a little bit more locked in this year for sure.
Are you withholding your opinion on this because you disagree and you think OKC is going to win in 5?
I think it's going to go longer than 5. Yeah, I mean, when you look at what the Nuggets did, OKC is one of those teams. Like they're good for a blowout or two, obviously in a series, but then they're also good to drop a game or two. So I think I think both series are going to be phenomenal.
All right. Ben Wittenstein in the chat. He says, really likes his pick. I forgot we do have an NBA guy. Okay, before we get to questions, Ben, can you jump in here real quick? Talk to me about why you think this is going to go 6 or 7 games. Let's get Ben in here.
Ooh, there we go. Yeah, how's it going? I do really like that pick. I think especially with the way Minnesota plays defense, I think it's going to give OKC some issues. And I think we also saw Denver was really injured, but they also were very veteran-led, and I think that bothered OKC a little bit when it came time to big games, when the lights are very bright. This is going to be a big moment for this young team. When that happens, the Timberwolves have been in these situations before. They're a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. I think just that alone gives them enough firepower to at least take this to 6 games, possibly even 7. So I really do like that pick. I think this is going to be a dogfight of a Western Conference final, so over 5.5 games, I really like.
Yeah, I think so as well. Sniper, do you have any? It looked like you had some follow-up there, no?
I was reacting to some questions in the chat.
Let's start there.
I usually only watch the East, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's go to some MLB questions. What do you have in the chat?
Well, somebody asked about Christopher Sanchez, the over 5.5 strikeouts, and I mentioned in the chat one of the things about Coors Field is it's long, done funky stuff to spin in the high elevation, so I generally would avoid strikeout props and Coors. Cheesy got a little crazy here, and I like it. Mookie Betts, Nico Horner, Alec Boehm, and Trey Turner 1+ hit each. Parlay at plus 210. I like that. Mookie actually, I looked at this last night, has good history against Brandon Pfaadt. I already talked about Nico. He's one of my plays. And you've got Boehm and Trey Turner in Coors Field against lefty Kyle Freeland, who's been brutal at home this season. So I love that play, Cheesy. Nice work.
All right. We like that play. I do want to get to the home run model, but Buckets, any soccer questions before we go back to some home runs?
Not really. Today's kind of the calm before the storm before we get into a really busy week of soccer. So we're just happy with our one Premier League game.
All right. And Calvin, I don't know. Do you have access to the chat? Was there a WNBA question that you saw before we get to home runs?
The only ones I saw are, have you had the Angel Reese McDonald's meal, which I have, and it is phenomenal. And unpaid advertising, I would recommend everyone go out and grab it.
All right, fair enough. Well, they can be a sponsor if they want, especially after that. Go ahead, Sniper.
Multiple times I've gotten Dodgers money line question. they just got swept at home by the Angels right now, and the pitching staff's kind of in disarray because of all the injuries. And obviously Clayton Kershaw came back, but he wasn't very good. The bullpen is kind of overworked, and with Landon Knack starting, he either goes too deep or the bullpen gets overworked again. So I would avoid a play in that Dodgers game, at least on the money line. I suppose you could get crazy and go with the plus money on the Diamondback side, but then you're betting against the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium, and that always is sticky as well.
Yeah, I actually had the Angels first 5 when Kershaw was on the mound Saturday night. After basically it was when the bases were loaded with 1 out. I was still getting a really nice number on, I think it was like -110, and I had to hang on for dear life because it went back and forth, and they ended up winning 5-4 at the end of 5. So that was a nice live play for me. Let's take a look at some home run props, which Sniper, I'm going to get you to comment on here. Any comments to any of these 3 guys on the board? It looks like we have like at least one.
Who jumped out? Stowers is actually having a really good year for the Marlins. Ben Brown on the mound for the Cubs. I suppose I could see that, but the other 2 jumped right out at me. Ohapi is on the Angels, and they're playing in Sacramento there against the A's with JT Ginn on the mound, as I mentioned, who can be homer prone. So yes, I like any Angel you want to play there. So that works. And Gunnar Henderson against Quinn Priester. Priester's gotten carved up pretty good by lefties. So, in Milwaukee, that's a good spot for Henderson as well. I mentioned if the Orioles could get going against anybody, Priester's one of those guys they could get going against.
As far as Stowers is concerned, didn't he just face Ben Brown like recently? And do you factor that in to maybe have him having
Marlins last week? The Cubs played the Marlins last week in the first 3 games of the week. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure he pitched.
Yes, Yep.
Do you factor that in at all when a batter's facing a pitcher?
If there's a quick turnaround, I generally think that the batter's going to have a better look at the pitcher the second time, unless it's somebody like Tarek Skubal where he has just amazing stuff. Then it might not matter. But if it's a Ben Brown type where he's not amazing or anything, and second looks always a little bit more comfortable in the box because you know what his stuff looks like.
Yeah, I feel like just with those reference points, I feel like Stowers at real odds of +700 versus the value that SportsLine is showing at +550. I think that might be a decent play, along with, of course, Jorge Soler for buckets. We do have a question before we get to the recap screen. It is from Brian. He asks, where does McDonald's rank on the ketchup packet stinginess?
I haven't had McDonald's in a very long time. When I had my appendectomy out, the meal I had before my appendectomy was McDonald's. So I now associate that with traumatic surgery. So I kind of assume if I ever have McDonald's again, my heart will explode. So I can't give a fair, judgment on that. I have to say, what is it? Plead the 4th, plead the 5th, one of those. I just can't have an opinion here.
Yeah, we'll go with the 5th on that one. Fair enough. Jeff Stenberg has a question for Calvin. Calvin, Paige Becker's over 4.5 boards. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I do like it. She's taken on a little bit more of like a defensive role where she's guarding some bigger players on the wings than she did most of her years at UConn, outside of that 1 year where all their bigs were injured. So she did go over this in game 1, and I do think that they haven't fully adjusted to it yet. So I like that in game 2 as well.
We've got a question from Mike B19 Sniper, under 7.5 Royals Giants. That one's tonight at 9:45.
I actually looked at the under for the first 5. I do think both of the bullpens are good as well. So I'd be down with the under for the full game, but it's Robbie Ray versus Chris Bubich. That's a really good matchup, and neither offense right now is very hot. So yeah, I think it's going to be a low scoring affair. So yeah, I'd be good with the unders in that one.
I like that look quite a bit. All right. Buckets pleads the 4th, says Rick Funcannon. All right, let's take a look at the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. I've got a series play, Thunder Timberwolves over 5.5 games at -125. And then we go to Sniper, Nick Horner over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs at -105. And Christopher Sanchez to record a win at -130. Then we go to Buckets, Brighton versus Liverpool. Brighton over 1.5 team total at -120. And then we go to Calvin Wetzel, WNBA Prop, am I going to get this wrong? Agumike. There we go. Over 17.5 points at -120. And just one sports line pick today. We're going with the Brewers at home against the struggling Orioles. Brewers money line -115. We're going to have plenty more for you the rest of the week, whether it's WNBA, soccer, MLB, or NBA. you know how the early edge works. We bring in as many people as we can, and we answer all your questions, give you all the picks. But I got to tell you, join SportsLine because it's only a microcosm of the picks that are actually on the early edge. I do also want to note the early wedge tonight, the DFS show, the betting show tomorrow at 7 o'clock, DFS show tonight. Make sure you join that on this SportsLine YouTube channel. On behalf of Calvin, on behalf of the Sniper, on behalf of Buckets and Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, and all of you, greatest poet alive, great KC3, Big Cheesy, Dean Goodwell, Dano, so many names I could read off here. I appreciate Liddy is in here, Joe Neuenfeld, Mr. Big. Thanks for being in here every single day. We appreciate you hitting the like button, reviewing the podcast, and just making this show that much better. Ladies and gentlemen, we rest our case.